I am super excited that this man took time out of his day to come and talk to me today. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you all out there the incomparable producer, Daniel Sollinger.
Hello.
Welcome, Daniel. Welcome, Daniel. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Yeah, it's a nice day out.
And you make the trek all the way down here.
Yeah.
So I always like to start with letting the people at home know a little bit about your beginnings. So we always like to start with the very basic question of where are you from?
I went to high school in South Carolina and moved around a bit before then, and then moved to New York City for college.
Okay, so you're country.
I
South
am
Carolina.
country. I am country.
By way of New York,
Yes.
and now you're here in California.
Now Los Angeles.
All right, and so what was your trajectory like from New York to here? Like, were you in college studying the arts, or how'd that go?
Yeah, so I went to New York University Film School and was producing music videos before I graduated. And I stayed and worked in New York for many years. And then 2001, 9/11 happened and the work just stopped in New York. And I decided to start doing work in LA. And I was sort of bi-coastal for many years. And then asked my wife to join me in LA, and eventually she moved here. This is my permanent home.
That's so funny because as you were leaving LA, I'm leaving New York. I moved to New York October of 2000.
And where did you live in New York?
Manhattan,
Okay.
Upper West Side,
West Side.
West 72nd, and
Oh, nice.
Amsterdam.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a nice
yeah.
neighborhood.
It is. I miss it. Yeah. So you said you were producing in college. So this has always been your lane.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've ever heard of a song called "Can I Kick It" by a Tribe Called Quest or "Check the Rhyme."
Absolutely.
So I produced the music videos for those when I was in college.
That's so dope. So you
Yeah.
probably knew Michael Rappaport back then because he's a huge
I've worked with Michael Rappaport. I have to say, not a fan, but I have worked with him. Yes.
Oh, he's an interesting character.
He is. He is.
Great actor though. Great actor. And so,
I used to be. I think he's a great actor, but I was so disappointed once I worked with him. Yeah.
Oh, just like
he was
you.
just not in a. Maybe he was just out a bad day. He was just not a pleasant experience to work with.
I like you, Daniel. People are scared to say this kind of shit on camera. Not you. You said no. This is my truth. So I love that. So just tell the people a little bit more about your trajectory of work, because like you did the Tribe Called Quest video. You've done tons of commercials. You've done tons of films.
Right. I did another music video called "Summertime" with Will Smith.
Oh my God, that's like his most famous one
Yeah, it
ever.
was like a long time ago. And then I started doing movies, and you know, when I was doing a lot of music videos and commercials, people who did movies would say like, oh, you know, well, it's not like working on a movie, and I'd be like, but it is. We're making, you know. And I thought it was all the same, but when I did my first movie, when I was probably in my late 20s, I realized like, oh, this is a much bigger canvas to work on, you know. And then even now, like TV series, I see it's like, oh, this is an even bigger canvas to work on than movies. So, you know, once I started doing movies, you know, I still do music videos from time to time, but mostly I like doing movies and TV shows. Yeah.
So I would like to know what pulled you into producing. Were you in a producing program at NYU, or did you just kind of fall into like just helping these things just kind of come together?
No, you know what? I think it's. I was thinking about this the other day because when in film school, like basically everybody wanted to be a director
Or a
know?
filmmaker.
Yeah, and I thought like, oh, you know, I'll be a director, but then I was working on student film, and so many people would come up to me and like, oh, should this be like this color or this color? And, you know, there was just like all these creative decisions to be made, and at the time I was like, stop asking me questions. Like, you know, it was just I would rather. But I have this talent, and it probably comes from growing up in an alcoholic household where, like, when there's chaos, I get very calm, and I'm very good at like picking through chaotic situations, which was, as it turned out, a great skill set in producing movies. So, you know, in the beginning, for sure, of my career, I would, you know, come in and be very good at putting everything in order and organizing and making things happen. And I just decided midway through film school, when people were asking me all these questions as a director, like, that, you know what, producing is going to be much more like in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I'm better suited for it. And what's great about producing is that you can sort of get involved in the areas that you want to get involved in. You know, all the creative pressure is not on you across the board. Like, oh, I'm really interested in the casting, and you can just get involved in the casting or the editing, or, you know, you don't have to, but you don't have to carry the whole weight of it the way a director does.
That's a really interesting viewpoint. What do you think that people most misunderstand about what producers do?
Well, I think first of all, there should be, it's sort of like the way that people in Alaska have 30 words for snow, because there's 30 different types of snow. You know,
What?
like yes, like Alaskans have more than like anything that's not warm here in LA, we just say there's weather, whether it's rain or it's overcast or drizzly, or even but just like in that and thinking in terms of rain, like it can be drizzly, it can be pouring, it can be a lot of different types of rain. Up so in Alaska they have 30 different types of snow, like wet snow, dry snow, heavy snow, whatever, and I feel like we need that for producing. We need oh, dude, they're this type of producer or that type of producer. They provide this because there's so many. The skill set is so broad, and the general public has no idea what it involves. They know it has something to do with money, but they don't know all the specifics of it. So I feel like we, as an industry, could do a better job of sort of naming all the different things or identifying what type of producer somebody is. Like they have line producers,
Yeah.
which so that there's that, and they have executive producers, which usually means something to do with the money. So like that's a good start. But I feel like we could go even further and just sort of help shape what people will understand about what a producer does. But as far as I'm concerned, I take a script and I help turn it into a movie. And everything that's involved in that, whether it's the breaking down and scheduling and budgeting, the casting, the shooting, staying on schedule, staying on budget, the editing process, selling it, handling the press and the PR, the marketing, and all the delivery requirements in terms of legal and financial delivery requirements, and and then beyond that, all the royalties and
Back end points and all that.
yeah,
kind of stuff.
exactly. So seeing the whole process through.
It's a full-time job.
It's many full-time jobs.
It's many
Yes,
full-time
it takes more than one producer to get a movie done. Yeah.
It absolutely does. It's a very hard thing. What do you think separates a good producer from a great producer?
That's a good question. I'd say personality. Somebody who can do it in a way that everybody still likes them is a great producer.
Okay, that's the big thing. You hear the stories about people getting screamed at on set, and I'm like, who operates like that?
Right.
A lot of people. Because there's a lot of bias.
It's easy to do. Yeah, if
Yeah.
you're stressed out, it's easy to start yelling at people and stuff. But a great producer is going to make everybody feel loved and happy and want to work with each other or them again. Yeah.
Wow, that's a great answer to a decent question. Thank you. And so, how do you go about selecting projects that you want to work on? Because I feel like at this point in your career, you work with Adrian Brody. You get to kind of pick and choose, I'm assuming, like what you do and don't want to do. What's your selection process?
I would say in the best case scenarios, I get to pick and choose. It's a bit of an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
Is really like who calls me. The only thing I can choose is not to do a job. I can't really choose who decides to give me a call and ask me to get involved. I try to get involved. I try to cast a wide net and get involved in as many things as I possibly can. But if but I can only get involved in things that need producers. And then it becomes a series of subtraction. And mostly it's like if I meet somebody, I'm like, what, I can't see spending a long time with this person, a lot of time with this person, then I'll turn the job down.
Wow, so it just comes down to do I like this person or not?
And it usually comes down to do I like the person or not. Yeah.
And I feel like when it comes to bandwidth, as a producer, you want a lot of pots on the stove because you just don't ever know what's going to do what, right? Or
Absolutely.
what's going to happen. How many projects are you willing to take on at one time? Are you a one project person?
I think you should have it like 10 to 15 plates spinning. Projects in various stages of development or concept or whatever. So right now, I have 2 movies in post-production. I have probably 2 movies that are sort of in that festival trying to get sold area. I have 2 movies that are in what I call soft prep, meaning that I think they're going to have a start date and we're putting together all the pieces for them. Then I have a documentary that I'm doing that it's just sort of when I'm available, I'm doing that. I have a movie that it's in the script phase and we're doing a rewrite. And so, you got to have, once you start adding this up, it's easy to get to 10 or 15, and at any one time, one of them may need all of your attention or maybe, paying the bills, and other times, you know, most of them are not actually paying the bills. So you gotta sort of prioritize, like, okay, this one's in pre-production, I'm billing, you know, whatever the rate is for this time, or, you know, whatever, and, you know, put the focus on that. But at the same time, you gotta keep the other plate spinning while you're doing that.
So it's a beautiful circus.
It is.
It's a beautiful
It's a lot of fun, actually.
And now looking back over your career, because you did mention it's been 40 years of just nonstop work, it's such a blessing. And
So yeah, I came to New York in 1985, and probably wasn't starting really producing until 89, but yeah, it's been 40 years working in the film industry.
you've got some classic music videos under your belt.
I do. I'm very lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's a great career trajectory. Are there any projects that really stand out as like monumental projects for you as a producer?
Well, you know, I have a couple stories. So, like, I did this movie called Rhyme and Reason. It came out in '97. It was a
I remember that.
It was a documentary on hip hop. And, you know, recently they screened it at the Academy Museum. They released a book of the photographs that we took on that project. And it's been named by Rolling Stone as one of the top 35 films of music documentaries of all time. And, like, that feels good, you know, whatever, 30 years later to see it get its, you know, it's always sort of been a movie that people respected, but it's nice to see it really get its flowers at that time. And I kind of knew it at the time. But at the same time, I did this experimental video that was really sort of out there, and it was about this famous author, William Gibson, had written a poem on a computer disk that once you put it into the computer, at the time was a basic Mac computer, the poem would unscroll, and then the disk would encrypt itself and self-destruct. Basically, you couldn't read the poem more than once. And he was selling these for like $2,000 a piece. It was an art project, an art experiment.
Okay.
And I was part of a team that had hacked it and was able to just publish the poem to the internet for free. And I made a video about it. And at the time, it was like a really just avant-garde video, and it was just all my friends at the time just thought I had gone off the deep end. I was crazy, and maybe I was a little bit. But you know, 30 years later, there was a symposium at Oxford because this guy had written a PhD dissertation about this event, you know, a whole book about it, and there was this whole symposium in Oxford, and I was like the honored guest to discuss this event, you know, and it's like one of those things that I guess it's like, you know, you do things and you don't know like what's going to happen. Like I knew Rhyme and Reason would do well, but I had no idea that this thing called Agrippa would be having some
moment,
historical note,
yeah,
all these years later, you know. And then there's other things that you think like, oh, this is going to be huge, and it's not, you know. So you don't know until you don't know.
So it seems like
so when we were doing those big hip hop videos, like when we did Can I Kick It, you know, we were in a park. It was a $20,000 video. You know, I played basketball with De La Soul and Jungle Brothers and Tribe Called Quest, and on our lunch break, and you know, it was just something fun to do. I got paid, and you know,
they spent that much on that video.
20,000? I mean, that's not a lot of money.
No, it's not. But it just seems like it just was like you guys were just kicking it.
We were, and that's the way we shot it. That's the way we made it. But you know, I mean, but you know, then when they got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Were you there?
I know I wasn't there for that, but you know, like you don't realize it at the time. Like what's going to, you know, I made all these other hip hop videos for people that I could say their name and you'd be like, who? You know?
Right.
So you just never know, like which ones are going to mean something and which ones aren't, you know?
So it seems like the most monumental moments in your career are the unexpected full circle moments. Right? Yeah, the things that kind of come back around, like, oh wow, it's like a surprise full circle moment.
Well, the other thing too is when we did Rhyme and Reason, like it was there was an MTV special that was longer than the movie, right? So it was a 2-hour MTV special. It was a 90-minute movie. It went out, you know, nationwide. There was commercials and everything. I was 27 years old, and I'm like, I've made it. You know, I'm Hollywood now. But it took me like 20 years, 25 years to make another movie that had that kind of buzz, exactly.
What was that movie?
That was the one with Adrian called Clean.
Okay.
You know, that went out to a lot of theaters nationwide, had a national ad campaign. You know, it looks different now, you know, because it's all social media, but you know, the same sort of level of like outness in the industry. And but that was like a 25-year period in between the two of those, you know, and you know, I was still making movies, I was still out there, but you know, that I didn't expect. At 27, I'm like, oh, I'm here, and I didn't know like I'd have to wait 25 years to have like a similar type experience, you know?
That's this business.
That is his business, and people don't realize it. You
Yeah.
know? It can be. I guess it's different for everybody, but I didn't. I wasn't expecting that.
Well, you know what? It's so rare to talk to somebody
Hollywood, here I come.
whose trajectory is so straightforward. It's like you just knew what you wanted to do, and you've just been doing that.
I have.
Which is very, very cool. I think I would like to know, just as somebody who's in the business as well, what makes the difference between a project that's going to get greenlit and one that's not?
Well, I work mostly in independent film, so I can only speak to that in terms of you know, it's really like who has the best chemistry with the entities putting the money up. It's really, I mean, I guess it works that way too in terms of like network stuff I've done or whatever. It's really about personal relationships, you know. It's really about like, do I believe this person's going to make something that I want to see, you know, and they give you the money. I mean, I guess that's really.
That's what it comes down to. It's fun funding.
Yeah, but it's also like personality, network, and how well you get along with the person who's actually writing the check.
That's the thing. The person who's writing the check, getting them to the table. You have a very special set of skills to me that I find like fascinating because it's so hard for me, line producing and putting together a budget. How did you fall into that? And, you know, is that one of the parts of the job that you hate, or do you like that? Or I find it very daunting and intimidating.
Yeah, no, it's very easy for me to do, but it's only because I've been doing it for 4 years. You know, I took classes in NYU where they would teach you about how to schedule a movie and do a budget, and I spent a whole semester doing that. And then the first time I had to do it myself, everything that they taught me was meaningless, and then I really started to learn. It's really just do trial and error and practice, you know, I guess, but you could take a budget somebody else has done and use that as a template to put together, but until you're actually there spending the money, because the main thing about the budgeting process, you have to know how you're going to get it done for the number that you're putting into the blank box, you know? So that's really the key. Like, oh, I know this guy, he'll give me that camera for this amount, so I can put that amount in there, and you know, I know this excellent costume designer who I think I can get to work for this rate, and that's why I'll put that rate in there. And so it's really like you have to kind of see it as you're laying it out in the budget.
And just
does that answer your question?
It does. It does. It really does. So thank you for that. And what advice would you give anybody out there? Because now they have actual producing degrees at UCLA, USC, and all these different schools. What advice would you give somebody who's not going to school, who just wants to throw themselves into producing? Like, what skills do they have to make it?
Patience. Really, I mean, my motto is there's nothing to it but to do it. So you just got to go out there and just start doing it. You just, you know, if you didn't go to film school, you know, don't know anybody, just go out there and get to know somebody and convince them to let you help in some way or another, you know, and be willing. In the beginning, I did a lot of stuff for free. Be willing to work for free, be willing to work for low pay, you know, until you get the experience and the resume that you can really then start charging. I mean, that would be my advice. And just know that there will be ups and downs. You know, you could go 25 years between hits, and you know, and just have to be okay with that, you know.
That's awesome. Well, we could get into what you're doing, but you're doing so many things. Anything coming up that you're really excited about that you want to talk about?
Well, this is kind of a little bit out there, but I have this project that I'm very excited about. I've been working on it for about 4 years. It's a decentralized autonomous organization, otherwise known as a DAO. And we are a group of 15 filmmakers, longevity experts, and blockchain experts who are creating this organization to make films specifically to give a positive view on radical life extension technology, or like technology that helps us live longer and healthier and better. And so we are now getting paid to do AI generated films on the subject. Very excited about, we are very close to going into production. We're in production on one documentary, and we're about to go into production on a feature film that's a part of this filmmaking collective. And we're going to do a token offering to help raise money to make these films. And that's what I'm most excited about at the moment. I just think like this intersection of cryptocurrency and you know, this technology that will enable us to live longer, and what's happening in media, you know, the sort of that Venn diagram, you know, is where I want to be at the moment.
That's interesting. And then you guys are using AI components to
Yeah,
sell this.
we're making AI films. Yeah, like we got $10,000 because we did an AI film set in 2099 after death has been eliminated, and as people were talking about how it used to be before they eliminated death, you know, and it won a $10,000 prize and was the basis for getting other contracts to do similar type AI films for other organizations in that space.
Oh my God, I could talk to you for a whole hour because the whole AI thing is it's a very touchy subject in Hollywood right now.
It is. I would say lean into it.
It's the future.
Yeah.
Lean into it or get left behind somehow.
Well, I don't like to, I think there's a lot of doomsaying around AI, and I think there are things to be concerned about, but I would say lean into it. And because there's no way, if you are concerned about it, there's no way that you're going to be able to help make sure it's done properly from the sidelines. You have to be engaged. You have to be involved to be able to help it become what you want it to be. Like, I love what Ben Affleck just did. You know, he has this AI company that protects performers, you know, but gives you all the tools and all the advantages that AI can give you, you know?
Right, it's like playing the long game, basically.
Yeah.
Making sure you're on the right side of things. Well, I love that. And I love that you made time to come talk to us. This has been an invaluable experience for me. I really appreciate it. Do you want people to find you? Do you want to tell them where they can find you out there?
You can find out more about me on danielsollinger.com. I have an AI chatbot you can ask questions to, and I'm still developing it, but you know,
Can they ask questions about you specifically? Or
yeah,
just...
yeah, I'm loading information about me specifically, and I'm gonna try to build it out from there. Yeah,
that's really cool. And Sollinger, guys, is spelled Sollinger, not with an A.
well done.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Daniel.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, you guys stay tuned. We have more interviews coming. Bye.